Picture a boy kicking a sock stuffed with newspaper through the dusty streets of a small Brazilian town. That boy's name was Edson Arantes do Nascimento, but the world would call him Pele. By the time he was 17, he would cry on the pitch after winning his first World Cup. By the time he was 29, he would become the only man in history to win 3. But before the trophies, before the fame, before the name Pele became a synonym for greatness, let me take you back to where it all began. Today you are not just going to learn about a footballer, you are going to learn how a boy who shined shoes on the street, cleaning people's shoes for small coins, became the king of football. And along the way, you will improve your English. By the end of this video, you will know the words and phrases to describe his incredible journey, because this story is not just about football. It is about believing in yourself when no one else does. If you have ever felt that your background decides your future, if you have ever been told you are not good enough, if you have ever wanted to prove your critics wrong, then this story is not just for you. It is meant for you. It all started on October 23rd, 1940, in Trens Coração, which means 3 hearts in Portuguese, a small city in Minas Gerais, about 300 kilometers from Rio. Pele's father was a footballer named João Ramos do Nascimento. Everyone called him Dondinho. He played professionally for a small club, but he injured his knee early in his career. The injury never healed. He had to stop playing. Without football, the family had no money. Pele's mother, Celeste, worked hard to take care of the family, but life was very difficult. Pele later said, "We were so poor that we could not afford a real football." So what did he play with? A sock stuffed with newspaper, sometimes a grapefruit. He tied the sock into a round shape. Then he kicked it around the streets of Bauru. That was the city where his family moved when he was young. The streets were dusty, the houses simple, and there was no grass. But Pele did not care. He loved football more than anything. When Pele was 7 or 8, he shined shoes on the street to help his family. He also worked in a tea shop, serving customers. He gave almost all the money to his mother. This is the part most people do not know. Before he became the king of football, Pele was a poor boy working in the streets. But here's the truth. Pele was not just in love with football. He was obsessed. He played every single day. His father Dondinho taught him how to kick, control, pass, and shoot, even with a sock ball. Dondinho would say, "Son, if you want to be a footballer, you must practice every day. Not one day, every day." And Pele listened. He played with older boys. He played against grown men. And he was always the best player on the field. One afternoon, a neighbor saw Pele dribble past 5 older kids and shouted, "That boy has magic in his feet." But his mother still worried. She had seen her husband's career destroyed by injury. "Football is not a life," she repeated. Yet Pele could not stop. Now, where did the name Pele come from? When Pele was in school, he had a favorite goalkeeper named Pele. He tried to say Pele, but said Pele instead. The name stayed. His family called him Dico, but everyone else called him Pele. In Hebrew, Pele means miracle. And looking back, that name was perfect, because Pele's life was a miracle. By the age of 10, Pele played for local amateur teams. Amateur means he did not get paid. He played because he loved the game. He scored goals in every match. People started to notice this young boy with incredible skill. But there was a problem. His mother did not want him to be a footballer. She had seen her husband get injured and lose his career. She wanted Pele to study, to become a doctor or a lawyer. "Football is not a life," she would say. But Pele could not stop. He loved the game too much. When Pele was 14, a man named Waldemar de Brito arrived in Bauru. He was a former professional footballer who had played for the Brazilian national team. Now he was a coach, looking for new talent. He watched Pele play for a youth team and could not believe what he saw. This boy was special. His control was perfect, his speed incredible, his shooting powerful and accurate. Waldemar de Brito said to himself, "This boy must go to Santos." Santos is a big city on the coast of Sao Paulo, and Santos FC was one of the best clubs in Brazil. He went to Pele's family and said, "Your son has a gift. He must come with me to Santos." But Pele's mother said no. Waldemar came back again and again. Finally, he made a promise. "I will take care of him like my own son. He will stay with my family. He will finish school, and he will play football." Pele's mother cried. She did not want him to go, but she knew this was his dream. So in 1956, at the age of 15, Pele took a train from Barro to Santos. He had one small bag, no money, no connections, just his talent and his dream. And here's where the story gets truly remarkable. Pele arrived at Santos FC shy, small and very thin. The other players thought, who is this boy? But the coaches gave him a trial, a test to see if he was good enough. In a practice match, Pele played. Within minutes, everyone knew this boy was a genius. He signed his first professional contract in June 1956. He was only 15. On September 7, 1956, Brazil's Independence Day, he made his senior debut for Santos. A debut means the first time a player appears for the main team. He did not score that day, but he played well. A few weeks later, he scored his first professional goal. Still 15. Imagine that. 15 years old. Far from family. Playing against men twice your age. That takes courage. Pele had it, but success was not easy. The other players were bigger and stronger. They tried to kick him, to scare him, but Pele did not give up. He trained harder. He learned to use his speed and intelligence to avoid the hard tackles. A tackle is when a defender tries to take the ball, sometimes kicking your legs. It hurts, but Pele kept getting up. And he kept scoring. In his first full season, he scored 36 goals, an incredible number for a 16-year-old. The fans started to love him. They came to the stadium just to watch Pele play. But Pele had a bigger dream. He wanted to play for Brazil. He wanted to win the World Cup, the biggest competition in football, held every 4 years. In 1958, the World Cup was in Sweden. Brazil had never won it. The country was desperate for victory. The national coach, Vicente Fiola, had to choose 22 players. Everyone was talking about Pele, but many said he is too young. You cannot take a teenager, a person between 13 and 19, to the biggest stage. Fiola decided to take Pele anyway, but just before the tournament, Pele injured his knee. He could not run or train. Doctors said he might not play. Reporters criticized. Why did we bring this injured boy? 17 years old, far from home, injured, criticized. Most people would have given up. But Pele was not the kind of boy who gave up. He rested. He did rehabilitation exercises to make his knees stronger. He waited, and he believed. The first 2 group matches, Pele did not play. Brazil won both. The third match was against the Soviet Union, a very strong team. The coach decided to play Pele. It was his World Cup debut at 17 years, 239 days old. He played well. Brazil won 2-0, but the real test was yet to come. Quarterfinals, Brazil against Wales. A difficult match. Both teams defended well. No one could score. Then, in the second half, a cross came into the penalty area, the rectangular area in front of the goal where the goalkeeper can use his hands. Pele controlled the ball, turned, shot. The ball went into the net. Goal. Brazil won 1-0. Pele became the youngest goalscorer in World Cup history at that time. It was his very first goal at a World Cup, and he scored it when it mattered most. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Semi-final, Brazil against France. France had a very good team, including striker Just Fontaine. A striker is a player whose main job is to score goals. But on this day, the star was Pele. He scored 3 goals, a hat-trick, which means 3 goals in a single match. Brazil won 5-2. After the match, Just Fontaine said, "When I saw Pele play, it made me feel I should hang up my boots," meaning stop playing. Even the best player in the world was amazed by Pele. Now came the final. June 29, 1958. Stockholm, Sweden, Brazil against Sweden. 50,000 people in the stadium, millions watching on television. Sweden scored first. Brazil did not panic. They scored 2 goals before halftime. Then, in the second half, Pele did something that people still talk about today. He received a high ball near the goal. He controlled it with his chest, the front of his body. Then he flicked the ball over a Swedish defender's head. Before the ball touched the ground, he volleyed it into the net. A volley means kicking the ball while it is still in the air. It was perfect. The goalkeeper could not move. The crowd stood up. One Swedish player, Sigvard Parling, said later, "When Pele scored the 5th goal, I felt like applauding." Pele scored 2 goals in that final. Brazil won 5-2 and became world champions for the first time in history. At the final whistle, Pele fell to the ground. He could not stand. He started to cry, great tears rolling down his face. He was only 17. He had achieved his dream. His teammate Gilmore came to him, and Pele put his head on Gilmore's shoulder and cried like a child. Not because he was sad, because he was happy. Because the boy from Bauru, the boy who shined shoes, the boy with the sock ball, he had become a world champion. You might think that winning the World Cup at 17 was the end of the story, but in truth, the hardest part was just beginning. After 1958, Pele became a global star. He was called O Rei, the King. In 1961, the Brazilian government declared him a national treasure, too important to the country to leave. He stayed with Santos. But the World Cup in 1962 would bring a new challenge. In 1962, the World Cup was in Chile. Pele arrived as defending champion. But in the second match, against Czechoslovakia, he felt a sharp pain. He had injured his groin muscle, the area between the stomach and leg. The injury was painful. He could not run or kick properly. He had to sit on the bench for the rest of the tournament. Imagine being the king, forced to watch your team fight without you. But Brazil had another star, Garrincha, a winger with amazing dribbling skills. Dribbling means moving the ball past other players with quick touches. He had bent legs from a childhood illness. His legs curved inward, not straight like most people. But when he ran with the ball, he moved like a dancer. He led the team through the knockout rounds. In the final against Czechoslovakia, Brazil won 3-1. Pele received the trophy while still limping. He had won his second World Cup, but he felt he had not truly earned it on the field. He wanted to win again, and this time be the leader. But that was not the end. In 1966, the World Cup was in England. Pele was 25 at his physical peak, but the tournament became a nightmare. Opponents kicked him every time he touched the ball. The referees did not protect him. In the first match, Bulgarian defenders kicked him so hard he had to leave the game, limping. In the second match against Hungary, he played injured and Brazil lost. In the third match, against Portugal, a defender named João Morais kicked Pele from behind. A brutal tackle that caught his knee. Pele fell, could not stand, and was carried off on a stretcher. A stretcher is a bed used to carry an injured person off the field. Brazil lost and were eliminated, meaning they were out of the competition. It was a disaster. Pele was devastated. He told reporters, "I do not want to play in another World Cup. The violence is too much. I only want to play for Santos from now on." His love for the game was broken. Brazil as a nation felt ashamed, yet the greatest test was still to come. After 1966, Pele rested. He recovered. He thought about quitting. But then he remembered his father's words, practice every day. Not one day, every day. He decided to try one more time. Inside, a quiet voice told him, "You are not finished. You have one more chapter to write." 1970, Mexico. Pele was 29. Many thought he was too old. But Pele had a secret. He had trained harder than ever, studied his opponents. He was no longer just a fast young boy. He was a wise, experienced leader. The 1970 Brazilian team is often called the greatest of all time. Players like Rivelino, Jairzinho, Tostão, and Carlos Alberto. But Pele was the heart. In the group stage, Brazil faced Czechoslovakia. Pele received a high ball near the center of the field. The goalkeeper was far from his goal. Pele looked up and tried something incredible. The ball sailed through the air, over the goalkeeper's outstretched hands, and missed the goal by inches. It was not a goal, but everyone in the stadium gasped. It was one of the most famous near goals in history. Pele smiled. He knew he could still amaze the world. In the semi-final, Brazil faced Uruguay, a rematch of the 1950 final when Brazil had lost at home and the nation wept. Pele said before the match, "This is not just a game. This is history." Brazil won 3-1. Pele scored one goal and assisted another. An assist is a pass that directly leads to a goal. Now came the final. June 21st, 1970. Mexico City. Brazil against Italy. Italy had a strong defense, but Brazil played beautiful football. Pele scored the first goal with a powerful header, hitting the ball with his head. Italy equalized, scored to make the score even, but Brazil scored again, and again, and again. The fourth goal is one of the most famous in history. Pele received the ball near the center circle. He did not shoot. He looked up and saw his teammate Carlos Alberto running forward. Pele passed the ball perfectly into Carlos Alberto's path. Carlos Alberto ran onto the ball and smashed it into the net. Goal. Brazil won 4-1. Pele had won his third World Cup. After the match, the Italian players asked Pele for his shirt. They wanted a memory of playing against the king. That 1970 team is still remembered as the greatest of all time. Pele retired from the Brazilian national team in 1971, having scored 77 goals in 92 matches. For Santos and throughout his career, Pele scored more than 1,000 goals, including friendlies and exhibition matches. The Guinness World Records recognize 1,279 goals in 1,363 games, though official records count around 767 competitive goals. Either way, no number in history compares. After football, Pele became a global ambassador, a representative for the sport. He met kings, queens, presidents, and popes. He used his fame to help poor children, working with UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Organization. He visited hospitals in Africa, spoke at schools in Asia, and raised money for clean water projects. He showed that no matter where you start, you can achieve greatness. Now, let me tell you what Pele's story teaches us. First, your start does not limit your finish. Remember the boy with the sock ball? He ended with 3 World Cup medals. Where you come from is not your destiny. What you do every day is. Second, listen to those who believe in you. Waldemar de Brito saw talent in a poor boy and fought to take him to Santos. Pele's father taught him to practice every day. You need people who see your potential. If you have no one, be that person for yourself. Third, use setbacks as fuel. In 1966, Pele was kicked so hard he wanted to quit. But he came back in 1970 and played the best football of his life. Your failures can become your greatest victories. Every injury, every rejection, it can be a turning point. Fourth, greatness is built through daily discipline. Pele practiced every single day. He did not rely only on talent. He worked harder than anyone. Even after becoming a star, he stayed after training to shoot 50 free kicks from different angles. Every single day. Talent opens the door, but discipline keeps you in the room. Fifth, use your success to help others. Pele became a UNICEF ambassador. He visited sick children and spoke for the poor. He used his fame to make the world better. You can do the same, no matter how small your platform. Pele died on December 29, 2022 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He was 82. Brazil declared 3 days of national mourning. The streets of Santos were filled with fans, some weeping, some singing his name. A stadium full of people who had never seen him play felt his spirit. His name became a synonym for greatness. Every time a poor child kicks a ball in the street, Pele's spirit is there. Every time someone doubts themselves and keeps going, Pele's voice whispers, "Keep going. Believe." And now I want to ask you something. You now know how a boy with a softball became the only man to win 3 World Cups. You learn the words and phrases to describe his journey. So ask yourself, if he could do that, what can you do with the resources you have? What dream are you carrying that you are afraid to chase? Let this story be your reminder. Your starting point is not your ending point. Your poverty is not your identity. Your doubts are not your destiny. You have a gift inside you. The question is, will you work for it? Every day. Like Pele did. If this story moved you, subscribe so you never miss one. And tell me in the comments, what is one dream you are afraid to chase? Write it down, because the first step to achieving it is saying it out loud, just like Pele did with the softball. And remember, take action today, not tomorrow. See you in the next story.